I used to write Spree from WBB Crew. I started writing graffiti in about 1982, 83. I was about 9 or 10 years old. I was a break dancer, I was a b-boy, so I was influenced by some of the stuff we were seeing from New York, from like the Welcome Back Carter TV shows. Another documentary that was probably influential was Star Wars. That was a documentary on the New York City graffiti scene, the underground scene. So I saw that around that time and I was inspired. And then I started writing bubble letters and block letters. And then I developed little by little. And kids in the area were older kids were already doing stuff. So a lot of the walls in my neighborhood and throughout the city already, we were getting influenced by the graffiti from New York, and transplants from New York City had been moving to South Florida, as well as um, people from New York, kids that their families moved from New York to Miami, started passing and sharing those skills to the kids that were already there. For me, it was more of just a defiant thing. I thought it was cool. I was always drawing as a little kid, so for me, it was like a natural progression. As far as who I looked up to, I would say the older kids that were already doing stuff. There were guys like, actually, there was a writer named Ease that was, he was my age, but he was a lot more advanced. Other kids in the area, crews like ATKM, 7 Up Crew, BO5, um, AIM Crew. I mean, those were crews that were already established doing stuff. So as a young kid, looking up to those guys, um, that's kind of like, you see their tags and their pieces all over the city. So that was, pretty influential. I'm Cuban, but race had nothing to do with it for me. I had there were kids that were Cuban or Latin, whites, African Americans, Asians, Haitians that were doing stuff, and it was more of a b-boy element where a lot of the kids that were involved were like break dancers as well. They were DJing and MC and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got into that. Well, back in the days, the penalties were not that much because graffiti didn't come to Miami till like maybe 1981, where it was something that was like constant, 81, 82 ish. Um, there were some earlier graffiti in New York, like 79 and 80, but they were guys from New York that came down for vacation. They did a mural illegally, and then they came back to New York. And some of that stuff is documented, and there's a documentary as we speak that's being created on the history of Miami graffiti, which came a lot later than cities like New York, of course, Philly, LA and stuff. Um, I was caught 2 times and chased a few other times, and the 2 times I was caught, it was not my fault. I was hanging out with younger kids that were trying to prove to me that they were cool or they can be down. So they did, they wrote on walls when there were people around and cars around, which is usually you don't kind of do that. You gotta wait till the coast is clear and then, ride on a wall or do something legally or whatnot. So both times I got off easy. I just had to do community hours and I was sent to juvenile hall, but I didn't even have to sleep over or anything like that. It was my mom picked me up and that was it. Um, these days, I I really never got caught, let's say, on my own because sometimes I would go out on my own to write on walls or whatnot, and I was pretty good, just looking out, making sure there's nobody looking, there's nobody around, and whatnot. So I never got caught on my own, or nor with my writing partner, my bombing partner, which was a writer named Deceive, which was my partner, and that's who I would always go writing with. So we were pretty good with taking turns looking out, making sure, nobody's around, no cars are coming or whatnot. We didn't have trains in Miami, so like our canvases were basically, walls, business. I started doing graffiti maybe around 82, 83, but I was still a toy. I was young, I was learning. It wasn't until about maybe late 85, 86 was when I really started getting better, and then I was doing a lot of damage throughout the late 80s. I stopped in 1991. Then I briefly attempted to come back in like maybe 93, 94. It didn't last very long. I actually stopped in 91 because I was 17, about to turn 18, and I had gotten in some trouble, and I was, I wanted to go to college and whatnot, and my mom put pressure on me. She knew I was doing it, and I needed to stop in order, if I'm going to get a job, I couldn't have a record and police record or anything like that. So she put some pressure on me, and I stopped. Um, I wish I hadn't, because a lot of my friends that continued, today they're successful artists in the art world, whether it's graphic art, canvas art, or professional muralists that get paid and to do commission work for big corporate businesses or whatnot. So sometimes I wish I hadn't. I don't do graffiti anymore. I'm not active at all. But sometimes I have friends that visit, and sometimes they'll have a legal wall. So if I do something these days, it's something legal. So maybe, sometimes like last year, a friend of mine came and visited me from Miami, and he had a couple commission walls, and he invited me to paint with him, and then I was able to do a mural with him, a piece with him, and a couple years ago as well. For me, graffiti, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to make a political statement. I wasn't trying to um, express any type of ideas. For me, it was kind of like what all the kids at that time that were into graffiti were doing, and it's just basically, you just want to write your name as much as you can all over the city to get the fame, to get known, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I was a bomber, meaning I was somebody that writes my tag. Um, I was in a crew where they were amazing artists, so when we would do pieces, I would sort of help out, but like I wasn't really a piecer. I was more of a bomber. So then, like everyone in a crew had a different job. For example, me and DC, we were bombers, so we put up the crew name and our tags throughout the city. And then some of the other guys that were the real good artists, they were handling the pieces. And then, of course, you have the muscle of the group in case you run into trouble or whatnot, or other crews have static, which these days they call it beef or whatever. So they would handle that sort of stuff. So for me, it was perhaps an outlet, but an outlet to express some type of. I mean, it was kind of an ego thing, an egotistical thing, where you just want to get the fame for yourself, and have your name all over the place, and hang out with the best writers from the city if you're in the same crew or whatnot. And it was competitive because your crew always wants to be better than all the other crews that are in town or whatnot.